Facebook land, it is the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee. We are here excited to go live again on Moscow Mitch Monday. We've got a fantastic show. A lot is going on this week that we wanted to talk about and share with you. Kind of just to give you the quick backstory, who are we and why are we here? We are an online campaign, an all volunteer-led effort to educate Kentucky voters about how Mitch McConnell's horrible agenda harms our Commonwealth and ensure in doing so, folks have the tools they need to unelect him or retire Mitch McConnell on November 3rd, 2020. So as always, we are starting our broadcast just with a quick round of introductions and our introduction question, which is, on Moscow Mitch Monday, what is your protest sign say today? Because we are not protesting live, we are protesting digitally, but we got to have our sign. It's really important. This is a kind of a unique situation I think we've got. We are going to open the show talking about things that are not necessarily Mitch McConnell. So in that vein, I think for me today, I'm Aaron Viles. I'm in Childsburg in Lexington. My protest sign will say, I can't breathe today. And then let everyone else introduce themselves.
Well, I'll go. Hi, everybody. My name is Denise Gray, and I come to you from the north side of Lexington. On my sign, it says, "Let me live."
Hi, folks. I'm Nate Orshan, coming live and direct from South Frankfurt, close to the Capitol. And my sign today says, "Hey, Mitch, repeat after me. Black Lives Matter."
Yeah. So thanks, folks. Thank you for adding the signs. Thank you for co-hosting the show tonight. And if you are watching right now, go ahead and add your sign slogans into the comments. Let us know what message you want shared out there. Thanks so much for joining us. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk a little bit about this upheaval that has gripped our state and our nation, what we can and should be doing about it. And then we're going to dive into the new Mitch stories of the week. We've got a recent Kentucky poll that I can see some hope in. I've got our own Facebook poll, which we encourage you to take. We've got a new blistering Rich Mitch ad created by Republicans that's making the rounds.
Yes.
And then after the news roundup, we're going to be joined by Doug for our ongoing segment, Following Mitch's Money. And then we're going to be joined by our guest, Forward Kentucky publisher, Bruce Maples. Wow, big show, lots going on. And we promise we will wrap up in time so you can tune in to KET and watch the big Democratic Senate debate that's happening at 8 p.m. on KET. So before we get into that, I just wanted to remind folks, we've got a few projects we've got going on right now. We are looking for people who were born during any of Mitch's election years. So we've got a video idea that we want to make real. Anyone born in 1984, 1990, 1996, 2002, or even 2008, if you're young and political. We think it'd be really powerful to highlight the view of folks born in these years who do not know a reality when Mitch McConnell is not the senator from Kentucky, and how we can all work together to demand a Mitch-free future for these poor individuals. They need hope. So yeah, if that's you or somebody that you know, please do get a hold of us. You can reach out to us on Facebook in the comments, or on Twitter, or Instagram, or the website, or so many ways you can get a hold of us. We are not hard to find. One last thing, have you signed and shared our petition to Mitch yet? Nate, did you sign the petition? Okay.
I mean, I sure did, sorry.
Fantastic. Denise, have you signed the petition yet?
Well, what happened was...
All right, so, yeah, a lot of people are like, yeah.
What happened was, y'all, I'll sign it, y'all.
All right,
you know how
so
I feel.
Go online, sign the petition. I think it should be in the comments right about now. I'm putting people on the spot because we haven't even cracked...
You put me on the spot.
Totally. I'm sorry, Denise. We have not even cracked 100 signatures yet, I don't think, people. And we've got like 800 people who like our page on Facebook. We've got hundreds of people who've joined the group. We get hundreds of views on this Facebook Live every week. Why haven't you signed the petition? Maybe it's because you think there's no way that... maybe it's because you think that you won't listen. That's fine. I get that. I understand that rationale. Let me explain to you why you should still sign it. Because I think if we get thousands of people signing a petition demanding Mitch, take the stock of this historic moment, put partisanship aside, don't just do what's best for corporations in our coronavirus response, but do the things that are laid out in the petition. I think not that he will do it. I think that we will be able to pressure him far more significantly to be, a better negotiator. We need to push him hard because he's already got his bright red lines about how he doesn't want to help people in the wake of the coronavirus. So we need to pressure him. If we can get 1,000 people to sign that petition, I also think we could get some media attention around it and get a little bit of additional pressure on Mitch. We have got to shape a narrative. That's what elections are all about, is shaping a narrative. We need to tell a story. The petition's part of that story. Go sign it. Go share it. Let's get a few thousand people on there right now. So that's what we got going on today. We also, one last call, well, not one last call, but if you have not requested your absentee ballot yet, you should probably do that, right?
Yes, I've received my ballot, and I've already mailed it off. So you all get it in. It's simple. It's simple.
Yeah, mine is sitting there on my counter. I have not opened it yet. I have it. Oh. I'm going to watch the debate tonight and see if anything changed my mind. But yeah.
That's going to change mine. Done.
You're ready to go. All right. How about you, Nate? You got your ballot yet?
No, and I need to contact the clerk's office and see what the hell's going on.
Okay. So yeah, it's easy to do it. Go vote Kentucky. I think it might be showing up in the comments right about now as well. All right, so we before we get to our regular segment, Following Mitch's Money, and our guest from Forward Kentucky, Bruce Maples, we wanted to just talk about what is going on right now. It's devastating to watch both what's happening in Louisville, what's happening across the country, Minneapolis, St. Paul, these horrible events that have kicked off this amazing protest all across the country. And I just wanted to, we cannot be a political show and not pay attention to this reality. And so I just wanted to open up for folks to share, their perspective on this. It's overwhelming, really, for me personally right now.
Well, I guess I will jump right in because despite of all that I do, when people see me, they just see my color. It's like I was telling you all the other day when I'm trying to be a runner. Off the record. I'm trying to be a runner. And when I was out there running,
Denise, this is not off the record. Just FYI. This is actually going
this is all on the record.
Literally
Hello.
Dozens of people.
Well, we want hundreds and thousands. So for real. But here's the deal. I was out running on my own last week. And I went to sit down to have a moment to myself. And then out of the blue, I'm called a word, which we all know, the N-word. I'll just say N-word. And running and realizing that you're not protected, that's a problem. Recently, we know that someone was killed while running. Brianna was killed in her house. Why is my existence not okay? And why is my pain not being heard? Why is it when we have to rise up and riot, is it that the only time we're heard? Our silent, peaceful protest, taking a knee, was not heard. It was seen as being something negative. And when all we want is to stop the pain and to be heard. I'm just Denise Gray, Kentuckian through and through. But I do have a voice, and there's so many within our community who do have a voice. We all have a voice, and our voice does matter. When you see wrong, it is your time to step up. It is when you see your brother, your neighbor, your sister, your family member, or someone you don't even know that is hurting. It is time to step up. And right now, we have Black and African American people all across the United States, Latinos who are hurting. We're all hurting. We need the majority population to stand up and be a voice, be a real ally who will be out there, who will have my back. And right now what we're seeing is some of that is happening. And so my part is I'm continuing this conversation. I may not have a political title, but I can lead where I am. I'm actually having a conversation with those who do have the ability to make policy and change. And I have actually invited Republican leadership to be part of this conversation, because they need to be part of this conversation in order to bring about change. It's going to take all hands on deck to bring about real solutions and not talk about it and be about it. Done.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, and that talk is taking place on Thursday. Join me with Bluegrass Active Alliance, our Commonwealth, and Denise Gray. And we have some wonderful leadership in the state of Kentucky who will be taking part. Andy may actually show up for this, I've asked. We do have confirmation of Kelly Flood, Representative George Brown, and we have community activists within the Lexington and Bardstown region who will be who will be there joining in. And I'm calling on everyone to tell their neighbors, this is time for us to get it, put everything out there on the table, and let's talk about it so that our tomorrow is better than what we're experiencing today. Right now, I'm really done.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. We'll definitely join that, and we'll share that out, with the group, so people can see that and know where to go. It is, I think it's a tough time. I think, when Breonna Taylor was killed by the police in that just incredibly dicey, horrific situation, no body cams on. The Louisville police have a bad track record, and I think the response from the family and the response from the civil rights organizations, it was strong, it was compelling, and then when the nation saw George Floyd murdered, that I think kicked things off again. And Ahmaud, the jogger, we are all watching this happen. And you can't see these events, these unjust murders occur and not want to see changes, right? And it's so, me as a white man swimming in privilege, I have a very, I have a hard time knowing what I can do, but I will know this: I will listen to the folks who are dealing with this, and I will, take direction, and I will support, whatever civil rights improvements we think we need. But this has been going on for so long, so far too long. And I saw an incredibly compelling interaction. I'm trying to remember what city it was. It wasn't in Louisville, I don't think, but where it was was it in Michigan? A 16-year-old black man talking to a black kid, a 31-year-old black individual talking to a 48-year-old black man, and just the anger and the passion and just the frustration that he's seeing generation after generation going through this, and no one's offering. The solutions have not been enacted. So it is. It is. It's horrible to see cities you love going through this, and communities you love going through this. But we have got to do better, people, and we need better leadership to get us there. I think that's absolutely true. And what we have, again exposed is that we do not have leadership for this time. We don't have it in the White House. We don't have it in the Senate. Mitch put out his very tepid statement. It's not enough.
And I find his statement to be since we're bringing it back to, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but I think it's very interesting. His statement that he put out on Facebook was very interesting, because he's been part of the systemic issues that have been going on. And how can you put out and be like, hey, let's be kumbaya, let's come together, when you've been the one that's been instigating all of this for decades?
Yeah.
I mean, I was a child when he was elected the first time. A child. I'm now in my 40s, y'all. I'm 41. So, it's been my entire lifetime. Well, thank you. 41 looks like this.
You're 41.
Mhm.
Nate, what have you been mulling over with this? I know you're a deep thinker. What's been going through your mind?
Well, so I wrote mine out, so I'm going to read it. So sorry, it's not going to be spontaneous, but you know, what I want to say is that I talk a good game and I mean well, but do I do enough? Hell no, no. No matter how outraged I am, what am I doing to address police brutality? I and all white allies need to step up our game. It should not be on black folks to protest perpetual police brutality alone. Now, so this is addressed to you, the listener or watcher. You're watching this because you care about Kentucky so much that you want to be part of the movement to retire Mitch McConnell. And you are also more likely to be white because our state is 87% white. So it's just the odds. So, what should you, my white friend, and I do now in the name of justice, especially right now, but really from now on? So, let's model part of it by amplifying the words of renowned author Ijeoma Oluo, who, in a single tweet, one tweet on Saturday, gave us the thumbnail sketch of what we should be doing. Here's what she wrote. She wrote, "Allies, now is the time to be in the service of Black liberation. Limit your response to what is of real, tangible help to us. Give money, call your reps, protect Black people at protests, elevate our work and voices. Don't make us swim through your tears while we fight." I love that. So, based on that, here again are those 5 real, tangible things that you and I can do right away here in Kentucky. Number 1, give money. If you have any, donate some to organizations that have been working to dismantle white supremacy, right? So here in Kentucky, that includes groups such as Black Lives Matter Louisville. Here in Frankfort, where I live, there's Focus on Race Relations, which is really awesome. Kentuckians for the Commonwealth is another really good powerhouse. Or maybe you know of a local activist. You follow them on Twitter or you befriended them on Facebook and they've been struggling. Maybe they've been literally risking life and limb for the cause of justice. Do they have a Venmo account you could maybe donate some money to? So that's number 1. Number 2, call your reps. There's a long laundry list of things that need changing. And let's face it, our mostly Republican slate of senators and congresspeople aren't likely to move on any legislation that makes them look soft on crime. But what if they started hearing from more white constituents like you, just calling to say that you are sick and tired of seeing Black people being victimized by law enforcement? What if they realized that a wave of justice was about to sweep across the nation, and your voice was part of that wave? And P.S., you have your state senator and representative, and your voice carries more clout on that level too. And the same goes for your municipal representatives. Give them a call. Number 3, protect Black people at protests. This one's a harder ask, right? But it needs to be said. In a country that demonstrably devalues Black lives, it super demonstrably devalues Black demonstrators' lives. And we've been seeing it across the country this past week. So if you can be at a protest, and Kit was able to join one last night in Lexington, um, lending your voice, but also your very body to the cause of justice, you are really being an ally. 4, elevate the work and voices of African Americans. So this one is more than just finding and sharing posts from Black thought leaders, although that's a good thing to do, definitely. Can you find ways to support African Americans as they run for office? Do you know a Black-owned business you can support? Are your school's English classes having students read African American authors? Do they teach African American studies? Number 5, don't make Black people swim through your tears while they fight. I can't imagine how hard it is to be Black and surviving in America, just day to day, in this system that's so obviously designed to keep Black people down. And then on top of it all, having to sit through white friends like me or acquaintances and their expressions of surprise and horror, shock and dismay, and it's real, but save the expressions of how upset you feel. Share them with your fellow white people, and if you can, ask Black people that you know how you can support them. And or give money, call and write your elected leaders, Elevate the work and voices of African Americans and add your voice to the protests. The cause of justice needs you and me now more than ever. Let's step up our game. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. Yeah, well, I think, just tying this all together, I think that, we have exposed Donald Trump as, not up to the challenge of this moment. I think that's the most charitable way you could possibly put it.
He has failed.
He has failed miserably. Tweeting just racist sentiments, threatening people. It is just, the fact that Twitter had to basically, start to try to enforce their standards against him because he was so horrible. I think it's been shown that, the political establishment benefits from that racism. The GOP, I think, is built on a just foundation of it. I think dog politics have, dated as back as long as there's been a modern GOP. Whether Reagan in Philadelphia, Mississippi, or the Southern strategy for Nixon, it is built on white supremacy, and we need to dismantle it. And I think, very clearly right now, Mitch has benefited from it, and we can't let him benefit from it anymore.
And I have asked him to the table too to be part of this conversation. I've invited everyone. I'm serious about getting real solutions. He's what I consider the most powerful man in the United States. Be about the people. There are people of color. There are African American, Black people who consider themselves to be Republicans. Protect those people. Mitch?
Well, we will not hold our breath waiting on Mitch to engage usefully on this issue, but I'm
waiting for the Attorney General of Kentucky to say something, be something, show leadership, and that's one of Mitch's guys. So I'm waiting.
He is a minion. He is a minion of Mitch. All right, so we're going to move on to Mitch in the news. Thank you all for sharing your views on this stuff and your thoughts about it. What we do know though is that it's critically important that this election is coming up. We're 5 months away. We have got a not new, but newish, and it came out I think before. We were off last week, but the Kentucky public policy polling came out with some surveys. They looked at, they talked to voters throughout Kentucky, and just wanted to get a sense of who's thinking what for the upcoming elections. And what I like about this, we will see that in Kentucky, it's a little sad. 53% of the state approves of Donald Trump's performance. That's unfortunately high. But for Mitch McConnell, only 41% approve of Mitch McConnell's performance as senator. 41%. So 48% think that he is not doing a good job. So that difference there between Trump and Mitch McConnell, I think, makes the entire case of why this is a race, that people are spending money on, why people think there's a chance. It's hard to win re-election when 48% of the public thinks you're doing a bad job and only 41% likes what you're doing. So this is something that gives me hope. Some people saw it and said, hey, maybe we should move from Kentucky because Trump's approval ratings are so high, even in the face of the clear failures of the pandemic. But what I saw in there was some real hope, because there are a lot of people do not like what Mitch is doing. 48% opposed to the job he is doing as senator. So that gives me hope. We have a poll right now though on our Facebook page. So if you're in the group, in the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee group, go to our poll. We're trying to figure out what messages are the most powerful, what is most motivating in terms of Mitch's horrible response to coronavirus. And we've got a few different options there. I think currently the winner is that he was willing to ignore the crisis to go celebrate and appoint more conservative judges. I think folks found that pretty compelling. But there are a whole set of other things that he's doing that completely are destroying, the smart response to the coronavirus. And there's a few options for you to pick. So Folks, what do you guys think about those polls?
Very encouraging. Very encouraging. Although the cynic in me thinks that all what Mitch would want to do now is try to just be more like Trump, you know, or really embrace it, you know, kind of. But you know that doesn't always work. Look at Mac Bevin, you know, literally coming to this Democratic thing with a Trump jacket, and still wasn't able to pull it out. So
He literally wrapped himself in Trump, and
Well,
that was.
that people just didn't like him. They did not like him, rightfully so. Um,
Yeah.
offense to him, but offense to him. But what I think about the polls is, whenever I think of any poll, I'm like, meh. I'm ready. Just polls mean nothing to me. I'm all about just keep digging in and doing the work because we know we've seen the effects of a polls. Think of Hillary. Should have won. Bless it. Should have won. So,
Well, the only poll that matters is the poll that we all take on November 3rd, right? So this is a poll that's
that's
5
correct.
times ahead of the election. So it's a snapshot of what's going on right now. It gives me some hope, but yeah, we do need to move on to our next segment. What I was going to do, I was going to play the Lincoln Project ad, but we did find that we had maybe some technical difficulties. So what I'm going to do is we will get that shared in the comments. It's on our Facebook page. It's on our Facebook group. But the thing about the Lincoln Project, this is a group of disgruntled GOP political operatives. These are people that were Republicans forever, born and bred, political campaigners for Mitch Romney and others who have just been absolutely astounded at how horrible Trump has been. So they've created a PAC to educate folks about, what actual Republicans, some actual Republicans think of Trump. They have also done an ad about Mitch McConnell because they understand how much he, empowers Trump's agenda, and how Mitch, as some say, Denise says, the most powerful man in Washington, D.C., could put all sorts of checks on Trump if he wanted to, but instead just emboldened his worst behavior so that he can get his tax cuts and his conservative judges. So I think it's a really powerful ad. You should watch it. You should share it. And we will get it shared in the comments. But yeah, that's a few things that have brought Mitch to the news. One more though, the biggest one is, what is Mitch doing for the coronavirus response? And for that, we're going to turn to Nate.
yeah, so the thing I would want to focus on for a second here is the unemployment benefit extension. So the original benefit package that was passed, I believe, runs out at the very end of July. That's the one that adds an additional $600 a week to whatever it is that you were getting. So it's a big help. It's literally a stimulus package, because that money most likely goes right back out to the economy, which, as any good economist would tell you, is precisely what we need. We need to have government spending in order to get things going. But does Mitch believe that? No. Mitch is in the next iteration of the coronavirus relief package, which is currently slated to be the last one. He's saying, no, we're not going to consider keeping that in or extending that. I want that to end. And the reasoning is really terrible. It's that there are so many people getting it who would make less money at their regular job than they get from unemployment insurance, that it's a disincentive theoretically for them to go back to work. Now, never mind that that's a scathing indictment of how terrible wages are, and that we need a raise in the minimum wage and all that. It's just cruel. It's just typically cruel. And compare that to Ron Wyden, the Democratic senator from Oregon, and he's got a plan that we all should maybe call Mitch and ask for, that basically keeps the money going, but it starts titrating down when your state is doing better with unemployment insurance. And there's this whole formula where, if it's down to 10%, then it gets dropped to $100 a week, and it's 9%, and more. It's just this intelligent way of doing it without just turning things on and off quickly. And Mitch could do that, but our cruel senior senator is not having it right now. So that's what got me up in arms.
Yeah. The one thing, they had to be forced to do it to begin with. If we remember, They did not put that unemployment insurance benefit in there willingly. And in fact, it almost crashed the entire package because of the final analysis. Folks like Lindsey Graham were saying that, it was over their dead body. They didn't want it to be to move through July. So obviously, this is going to be another big fight. And I think we need, go ahead, folks, sign that petition. We need to fight. We need to push back. We cannot be kicking people off this unemployment insurance when the economy is not back. So it's just insane.
And jobs, yes. Because also, as someone that has been helping with that, I will let you all know that a lot of people, you're not getting a lot of money when you're on unemployment. Just know this. So this argument that people are not working because unemployment benefits are so much, that's a fallacy. The people need to speak. This is something that people who are living on this need to speak up, because there's a reason why people seek those benefits. And it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they don't want to work. It's because they need it at the time. And that's why Kentuckians have reached out and actually filed for unemployment benefits. Receiving it has been an issue, but it is what it is, and we're working on it.
Yeah. So, hey, that is Mitch in the news. We are now going to be moving on to our following Mitch's money segments. We're going to kick off Nate for a second. We are going to bring in Doug. Doug, are you there? Doug, can you hear us?
Bless it. Doug, bless you. Sorry. Can you move the screen down? This is so interesting.
There we go. You're getting higher on the screen. Keep going. That was right. You're getting.
Good.
We got your face is your mouth is blocked by our lower third. So if you can try to get your head up a little bit higher in the screen, it's gonna be it's gonna be a better look. It's gonna be a better look for folks. Hey, look, there we go.
Oh my! Now we see your neck. Oh bless you. Right. There we go. Freeze.
How's that?
Oh bless you.
All right, welcome back, Doug. How are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing real well now that I'm on the screen. Thanks for having me on. I'm a Cynthiana, Kentucky resident and registered independent who adamantly believes that we need to ditch Mitch on November 3rd, 2020. I joined the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee soon after participating in a couple of events in Lexington. My article today is about trying to connect the dots as related to our new voter ID law. How did Kentucky come to have a new voter ID law? And how does Mitch McConnell figure into the equation? In 2016, Mitch wrote a memoir and is aptly named The Long Game. Originally cost $28. I bought the book for $5.65 and plan to do a future Mitch and Money utilizing passages from the book. The Long Game. Mitch has a University of Louisville program named after him called the Mitch McConnell Scholars Program. It's my understanding that Mitch participates in teaching the scholars and stresses all you need to know about politics can be summed up in 3 words: money, money, money. The newly elected Secretary of State of Kentucky, Michael Adams, is a graduate of that program. Michael Adams' primary campaign promise was to enact a new voter ID law. During the campaign, he said this law would stop voter fraud in Kentucky. During the 2019-2020 general session, the Kentucky Republican leaders introduced Senate Bill 2, the voter ID law. During legislative committee hearings, Michael Adams was asked to provide proof of voter fraud and was unable to provide specific instances. It is my belief that Mitch McConnell was behind the effort to introduce and pass SB 2. Republican politicians across the country continue to promote voter fraud as being rampant. And of course, this also comes from the top, as President Trump continually tweets fake news related to this matter. Senate Bill 2 was given the number by Senate leadership, indicating this was the second most important bill the Republicans wanted passed during the 2020 session. The primary sponsor was Senator Robbie Mills. There were multiple other sponsors, which generally indicates more people were enthused about this bill. Damon Thayer was on there, Ralph Alvarado, and several other. Steve West, my senator, was on there. Notably absent was Jimmy Higdon, Whitney Westerfield, and Robert Stivers. I wonder why Robbie Mills was assigned as the primary sponsor of the second most important Senate bill this 2020 session. He is a first-term senator from the Henderson, Kentucky area who rode the coattails of Trump in the last election, defeating incumbent Dorsey Ridley. Senator Mills received substantial support from the Kentucky Republican Party, including a little over $112,000 for in-kind services from the Kentucky State Republican Committee and an additional $73,000 from the Senate Republican Caucus Campaign Committee. Essentially, these funds allowed Mills to receive money to flood the area with ads in an effort to elect Mills. Trump won Henderson County with 62% of the vote. I understand the advertising blitz centered on issues noting Mills would be in lockstep with Trump. You know, you can imagine that Mills was going to help protect the borders and things like that. The election was close as Mills won by under 500 votes. One of the in-kind expense donations totaled almost $60,000 and was reported by the Mills campaign on October 23, 2018. On October 24, 2018, the National Republican Committee donated $50,000 to the Kentucky State Republican Committee. I would guess even if this was a prearranged transfer of funds, it's probably not against the law, but it does seem a little fishy to me. Did Mitch orchestrate all of this? I guess we will never know. According to his memoir, he is concerned about the long game. Unrelated to this issue, but important to note, please make sure that you are up to date on how to vote this coming June 23rd. I think Aaron's already mentioned you can go to govoteki.com to learn all you need to know about that. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused the Board of Elections, the Secretary of State, and the Governor to change the original May primary date to June 23rd. Fortunately, all of these came together to figure out that absentee balloting via mail would be needed during the pandemic. It is my hope this will lead to mail-in balloting in the future. Other states have mail-in balloting and have seen an increase in the number of people voting. I would think any sane person would want more people to vote, but not the Republicans, the voter suppression party. Back to you, Aaron and Denise.
Hey, Doug, thank you so much. I think that is a really good point that, you know, if you have a political party that relies on getting fewer people to vote instead of more people to vote to increase your likelihood of winning, you are doing something fundamentally wrong, and that needs to be addressed. So I think that you've done a really good job of following that money and seeing where this out of nowhere freshman lawmaker is doing some of the most important work for advancing their agenda, and you can see where that money came from. It's a very intriguing story. But yeah, thank you so much for digging in and for following it, and we'll be excited to have you back next week for your next installment of following Mitch's money. Thank you so much, Doug.
I'll be here. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, so we are now very excited. We are getting back to our guest, Bruce Maples. We have got Denise here as well, but we wanted to welcome Bruce Maples, who is the publisher of Forward Kentucky, which a little bit about Bruce. He's been involved with politics and activism since 2004, when he became active in the Carry Kentucky movement. He's been president, vice president, and treasurer of the Metro Democratic Club. He's served on the Democratic Party Executive Committee in Louisville. He began blogging in 2004 and currently operates two personal blogs, brucemaples.com and brucewriter.com. Founded Forward Kentucky in the wake of the state elections of 2015 and expanded it in the summer of 2016. He's lived in Louisville since 1992 with his wife and 2 sons. And if folks don't know, Bruce had me on his live stream show a couple of weeks ago. And so we decided it made a lot of sense to return the favor and help let more people know about the great work that he's doing. So welcome, Bruce. Oh, I think I might need to turn your music. Here we are. All right. Everyone okay? Can we hear everyone now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yes, that's the question. I hear you. Yay.
That's the important one, right?
All right.
All right. So how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm good.
Excellent.
Excellent. You didn't ask me what my sign would say.
No, I was about to get to that. What's it going to say? What's your sign say?
Turn the damn cameras on.
Hello.
Yeah, Jesus.
Just learned this afternoon that there was no body cam footage from the shooting in the West End.
Exactly.
So
I think I just read that on your page. So.
Turn the damn cameras on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, so folks who don't know, tell us a little bit about Forward Kentucky. What do you see as your role in this Kentucky progressive ecosystem?
Well, it has morphed over the last 2 years. So where we are now is we are a combination of a news site. So we cover politics in Kentucky. We cover the big politics, but we also have some stories about out in the state. We do features and so on and so forth. So we try to do objective news. If something is labeled as news on our site, we try to honor every good journalism practice and be objective. We have a couple of people who write really good policy pieces. Dr. Neil Turpin, who has a doctorate in urban policy, writes for us occasionally on things going on in the General Assembly. But the reason that probably we're on your show is the third piece, which is progressive commentary. We are a no apology progressive site. That's who we are. That's what we do. We try not to let it be in the news part, but if you read the commentary and you look at our editorial cartoons and you look at the stuff we're doing like that, it's obviously progressive. We push progressive issues. We take progressive stances. We interview progressive candidates. So that's where we are. We call ourselves the progressive voice for Kentucky politics.
That's great. So what's your take? Do you think progressive politics or progressive Democrats, are they on the upswing right now in Kentucky?
I think there are a couple of things. One is I think that people are glad now to call themselves progressive or liberal, where 10 years ago, that was a different story. I think people are going, we're going to own it. We're going to say that's who we are. That's what we want. I think that's the first thing. Second thing is that the demographics are in our favor. People under 40, by and large, are progressive. They are much more liberal in their approaches and their thinking than people over 40. And as the Republican Party gets older and older and the Democratic Party gets more diverse, things are going to change. Now, Kentucky, the famous Mark Twain quote about when the end of the world comes, I want to be in Kentucky because we're always 20 years behind everybody else. That's probably going to be true here as well. We're going to be behind Georgia and Texas flipping blue and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think change is coming. And the interesting thing is, I don't know if you know Robert Connie, but Robert is one of our contributors, and he did an analysis of last year's gubernatorial race and pointed out that not only the big cities, but the suburbs and even the smaller cities voted blue much more than they had in the past. So if I was the Democratic Party, I'd be focusing not just on Louisville and Lexington, which they always do, but I'd be looking at these smaller cities, particularly ones with universities, and I'd be pushing hard. And then I'd be going into suburbia. The east end of Louisville flipped a couple of seats because suburban women are turning against Republicans. So yeah, there's some space there. Now, if you know Barry Craig, or if you read Barry's stuff on our site, he's in Mayfield, and he calls it Trumpistan. Because he said it's just red, red, red out there. But even there, there is a protest this weekend, or no, it's tonight. It's happening right now. There's a George Floyd, Breonna Taylor protest in Paducah or Mayfield tonight. So, there's movement.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Denise, do you have any questions for Bruce?
Well, I didn't know. You all actually interviewed me a couple of years ago when I ran for office. Thank you. You all did a great job. You caught me in my essence.
That's good. I'm glad to know that.
Yeah, whatever. So what, I'm just speaking about since you all are progressive, how would you all reach out more so to the African American Black community that is hurting right now? Because I have gone through your website and I'm just trying to figure out what can you all do in that respect, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I have to tell you, I wrote a piece, and it's up on the site right now, and it's called A Few Thoughts About the Demonstrations Offered in Humility. The very first thing I have to say is that most of the contributors on our site, well, all the contributors on our site right now, are lily white. And so we don't have good personal background about this. The one or two things I will say is that we have become more forthright in our call outs of the police and of government. I wrote a piece about Mayor Fisher, calling out Mayor Fisher, saying 2 months is nuts. Why would anything take 2 months to investigate? That's ridiculous. So we can have a voice, but ultimately we need to listen to the people like you that are in the space. And I'm actually looking for somebody to put on our show on Friday to talk about it from that standpoint. What we can do is we can be an ally, and we can be an advocate, and we can be a truth teller as far as we know it.
That's great. Thanks, Bruce. And then what do you think? So that's what this show is all about. What do you think we need to do as a state to ditch Mitch in 5 months?
I think there are a couple of things. I think that people have got to figure out how to be something more than not Mitch. They've got to figure out what it is they stand for. They got to come out with a vision. I've been fascinated by the fact that both Charles Booker and Mike Royer have come out with universal basic income as part of their platform, and aren't shy about going out and talking about it. I think another thing is that we have got to push the idea of forget the party for a minute. Let's talk about what you need in your life, and let's talk about what we stand for, and then let's see if that matches up for you. Now, you're not going to get the hardcore Trump, right wing. You're not going to get very many of those. But there are many, many people. I really believe this. There are many, many people who are fed up with Trump and fed up with McConnell. And they want somebody to come at them intelligently and honestly and not play tricks and not play games and not use some of the ads that you see. I mean, that's just mirroring McConnell. Let's be McConnell back to McConnell. I don't think that's going to work. I was intrigued with Celeste Wilder's campaign. He didn't, in the end, win the primary, but he was very honest with people. I mean, he met with coal miners and said, "Look, the jobs aren't coming back, so we got to figure out another plan." And I think that was good. And I think that that's doable in West Kentucky and in East Kentucky and, across the state. I think that's possible.
That's great. Thanks. All right. Any final thoughts you want to leave us with, Bruce? We do have to, get moving because we promised people time to pop their microwave popcorn before the
Yeah.
KE debate kicks off in 10 minutes.
Well, I got to do my promo. There are 3 ways you can be involved with Forward Kentucky. Obviously, you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever. The second thing is you can come sign up for newsletters. It's very simple, forwardky.com/email. We have a bunch of different newsletters. I will tell all your listeners and everybody on here that if you're not subscribing to my Old Kentucky Podcast newsletter, you really need to do that. It's one of the best newsletters in the state. I would also encourage people to sign up for the Forward 5, which is every morning, Monday through Friday, 5 things you need to know. And then finally, even though we have all these people doing this, we are sustained by our paying members. You can read our stuff without being a paying member, but paying members are who pay the bills. So if you want to do that, it's forwardky.com/join. We have grown consistently we're now in our 4th year. We've gone from days when I thought 100 views was really good to much, much, much more than that. So we're continuing to grow. And I will say also that we are accepting sponsorships from nonprofits and activists and campaigns. So if anybody wants to be a sponsor out of those 3 groups, they're welcome to come do that. And finally, remember what Molly Ivins said as she was actually dying of breast cancer. She gave a speech and she said, "Children, remember, keep fighting and have fun." So I want to keep doing that. I keep fighting and have fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Fun has got to be in the fight. Thank you so much, Bruce. Thanks for the work you're doing. Everyone, check out Forward Kentucky, Facebook, Twitter, what have you. Get the email newsletters. They're worth it. Absolutely. And yeah, throw them some money. Subscribe, right? We're not asking you for money. So he is. Help him out. We do have to, I think it's really important we build that progressive ecosystem around the state. We need the information. Yep. We need to engage each other. We need to connect each other. And that's why we're really glad that you joined us tonight. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Thank you.
All right. And now we're back. We've got Nate with us. We have got some exciting plugs for next week. I think I want to just mention really quickly, we have got a Reverend, let's see, I'm pulling up the thing right now. Though I think folks, you got to get over there and watch this KET debate. Even if even if you've already made up your mind, even if you're like Denise, you've already filled out your ballot and you've mailed it in. We need to see how these folks are going to be, stacking up and hear these competing visions of Kentucky and where we need to go without Mitch. So, at any rate, folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Any final words from folks? No final words tonight.
No, what I say is just go support your neighbor. Yeah, be the voice for the voiceless.
Yeah,
stand up.
Absolutely. These are very trying times. We are all being challenged. We all need to step up. Good God. Pray for all of us, right? Like this whole pray for our cities, pray for our nation, pray for us to come together and support each other in a way that we just clearly have not been doing. But folks, thank you very much. Have a great night. We will see you next week.